Don't be fooled by those in Epstein's circle who say they didn't know what he was doing. Epstein not only didn't hide what was happening, he took a certain glee in making people watch. Scientists, fundraisers from the Ivy League and other heralded institutions, titans of industry. They watched and they didn't care. Those were the words of Virginia Giuffre. For years, her allegations were treated as exaggeration, as grievance, and as noise. She died last year. The questions she raised didn't die with her, and they are most certainly not noise anymore. The consequences of those who chose to associate with this man and who chose to look away are now unfolding far beyond the United States. The late Queen's favourite son has been arrested and faces removal from the line of succession. The Prime Minister's ambassador to the United States has been arrested too. 3 of Keir Starmer's top aides have lost their jobs, and his may be next. 2 of the most powerful institutions in the United Kingdom are visibly cracking. At the center of it all is an American criminal who has been dead for 7 years. He didn't attack Britain from the outside. He didn't threaten it with violence. He didn't need to. Access to power mattered more than who he was or what he had done. This is not the story of one man's crimes. It is the story of what powerful people were willing to overlook and how a network built on secrecy is now collapsing in public. This is how the British establishment traded morality and stability for influence. Influence. For a prince, that's a little bit different than it is for everyone else. Prince Andrew was born into money, fame, and institutional respect, but he was also born a second son. In royal terms, that means being the spare, and while he had everything we've mentioned, he didn't have the purpose and defined role that comes with being a future king of England. That freedom afforded him independence. Unfortunately, it also left him searching for relevance. Cited by many as his mother's favourite, Andrew's reputation for arrogance and womanizing was allowed to fester unchecked for decades. For Epstein, this arrangement was not incidental. It was deliberate. Through proper royal channels, Andrew's power was limited by the order of his importance and succession. Through Epstein, he found a way around those limits. Epstein provided access that felt discreet, powerful, and beyond scrutiny. In return, Andrew gave him the one thing he could never secure alone: legitimacy. His friendship with Andrew would give him everything he'd been missing. And it's the importance of that point that makes this next one so dangerous. It wasn't long into the friendship between Epstein and Andrew before Virginia Giuffre was introduced. It's alleged that he slept with her 3 times while she was underage in London, New York, and on Epstein's private island. The prince denies wrongdoing and claims no memory of her. He later settled a civil sexual assault case for £12 million. Whether or not criminal liability is ultimately established, what matters structurally is this: shared vulnerability binds people together. If covert power and borrowed legitimacy drew them into each other's orbit, mutual exposure ensured neither could easily decouple. The cost of severing ties may have felt greater than the cost of maintaining them. It's this very combination of trust and desire for real power that would ultimately lead to the charges laid before Andrew. On Thursday the 19th of February, on his 66th birthday, he became the first royal arrested since 1647. He was charged with misconduct in public office for allegedly leaking privileged information to Epstein during his time as British trade envoy from 2001 to 2011. The charge can carry a potential life sentence. The last royal arrested was executed for high treason, an event that temporarily ended the British monarchy, at least for 11 years. History isn't likely to repeat itself, but the symbolism matters. Public support for the monarchy is lower than it's been in generations. When the head of state is supposed to embody unity and stability, allegations of this nature in public office resonate far beyond one individual. The only saving grace for the monarchy right now is that the government could be facing an even greater crisis. Prince Andrew is one flawed man. The British government, though, is another matter entirely. For the government, the name at the center of this crisis is Peter Mandelson. Like Andrew, he has been charged with misconduct in public office for allegedly sharing sensitive information with Epstein. Unlike Andrew, Mandelson's influence operated from within the government itself. Having held senior roles across multiple administrations, he was uniquely positioned to shape decisions and policy direction from within. He was in the perfect position to supply knowledge to Epstein, and even went as far as receiving advice from Epstein on decisions he would later influence from within the British government. After Mandelson lost his seat in the House of Lords, Epstein reportedly assisted in the creation of his consulting firm, Global Counsel, facilitating introductions, advising on strategy, and helping position the business for rapid expansion. Together, they were able to not only make accurate market predictions, they were able to directly influence the levers of power to do so. Mandelson's business went from one strength to the next, with offices popping up all over the world, until February 2026, that is, when it all came screaming to a halt. Mandelson was arrested and his business was put into administration. While it's a scandal in itself that two previous governments hired Mandelson only to fire him for various misconduct, it's even more scandalous that he was hired again by this government to be the British ambassador to the USA. This decision was made not just with the prior knowledge of his previous two firings, but with the knowledge that he did indeed have some sort of relationship with Epstein. Mandelson claims to have not been privy to the darker aspects of Epstein's life, but reports have made it clear that even after Epstein was charged with procuring a child for prostitution in 2008, Mandelson maintained the friendship. Now, the government does claim he misrepresented the extent of that relationship during the appointment process. If true, that's systemic failure of vetting at the highest level. Mandelson, commonly known as the Prince of Darkness in British political circles for his ruthless management style and ability to fix political situations through whatever means necessary, appears to have finally come up against a force too great for him to recover from. Widely credited with transforming the direction of the UK Labour Party in the 80s and 90s, Mandelson, perhaps better than anyone else, highlights the danger of pursuing a win-at-all-cost strategy. 3 top aides have resigned, so Keir Starmer now faces internal and public scrutiny, not for his own personal misconduct, but for the decision to elevate a man whose past associations were already controversial. Morality was put aside when it came to hiring Mandelson, because the assumption was that he would help them succeed. In the end, the only thing he succeeded with is in contributing towards the downfall of their own Prime Minister. What makes this so explosive is not only what is happening in Britain, but what is not happening in the United States. Donald Trump has been mentioned extensively in Epstein-related documents, over 1,000 times. Yet the political consequences have been markedly different to his UK counterpart. Part of this divergence in outcomes comes back to the design of the country's political systems. In the UK, you don't vote for the Prime Minister, you vote for the party. A leader's survival depends heavily on party confidence. Recent polls and results have severely weakened confidence in Starmer. If the polling is the fire, think of Mandelson as the gasoline. In the United States, there are very few mechanisms for the same level of scrutiny. Party leadership cannot simply replace the sitting president for reputational damage alone. The main method available is generally impeachment, and Donald Trump has already been impeached twice. Removal requires a separate vote and a 2/3 majority to do that. That is a hugely higher bar. The media environment is totally different too. In the UK, partisan news does exist, but not to the same extent as it does in the United States. And coverage of Mandelson has been front page and generally reported in a much more traditional, fact-based tone. What that does is encourage consensus. For Starmer and the Labour Party right now, the consensus is outrage. In America, partisan news is core to the media landscape. Audiences can consume entirely different realities depending on their chosen outlet. That encourages division, and a divided nation naturally finds it harder to agree. For the members representing that public in Congress, it's much harder to prosecute change. Beyond politics and media, though, is personality. Unlike Starmer, Trump has thrived on scandal throughout his career. He is an expert at managing narrative, often reframing scandals into political attacks. That's a highly effective weapon. Now, Trump has outright denied any involvement with Epstein and claims that their relationship ended after 2004. For much of the American public, more information about illicit sexual activities that Trump may or may not have done at this point feels a little bit like adding water to an already overflowing cup. After a certain point, it becomes more difficult to retain the response you had the first time. That sense of becoming slowly desensitized to something is called stimulus habituation. For Starmer, this is a first. Hiring Mandelson, given everything we know now, it feels shocking. For Trump, there is no Mandelson. There is no middleman. He was the guy who was friends with Epstein for many years, even being on the record as saying that he knew that Epstein liked his girls young. Yet the same feeling of shock is not even remotely close. That disparity does not necessarily imply innocence or guilt on either side. What it does do is reveal how institutional structures, political culture, media, and even personality shape accountability. The crimes committed by Epstein and his associates are terrifying. The recent release of millions of documents has continued to unravel a web of relationships between individuals who chose power, influence, and connection over protecting children and coming clean about the crimes they were either privy to or chose to commit themselves. Prince Andrew and Peter Mandelson may yet face life sentences or never spend a day in jail. Their fates will be determined in court. Starmer's fate will be determined in the party room, and the fate of the United Kingdom will be determined at the polls. In a system reliant on public confidence, the exposure of hidden networks like Epstein's can shake that confidence to the core. Right now, we are witnessing that network finally collapse. The cost of that collapse will not be borne by one prince or one politician, but by the institutions that allowed influence to outrank morality and accountability. Virginia Giuffre said it best: titans of industry. They watched and they didn't care. Many powerful people will be watching these cases unfold and be praying they're not next. Thank you for watching my video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.